Here we are looking at the practice test for sections 6.1 through 6.4. First question on our review sheet is what is the order? Now our order is saying basically what is the size of this thing. And remember we use rows by columns. So we have 2 rows by 4 columns. Number 2, we're going to write the system of equations as an augmented matrix. So we're going from equations to the matrix the way we would type it into our calculator, or we would use our row manipulations on it. And in an augmented, we kind of put a dotted line there. I'm not really too concerned about the dotted line. I'm just wanting to make sure that you know how to go from the equations to the matrix. Number 3. This one we're going to have to put it into a matrix on our calculator. You see that we have the values from the points 1, 5. I have 1 and 5, and then I have 1 down the last. And then 3, -1 in the first columns, 1 in the last. 2, 0 in the first 2 columns, 1 in the last. And do you notice that it doesn't have the little lines here that make it a matrix? They're telling me that I want to do a determinant. That's what those straight lines mean. So I'm going to get out of there. I'm going to get back into matrix, and I'm going to do some math. And this first one says determinant. D-E-T means determinant. So I'm going to do a determinant, that's what those straight lines mean, on the matrix. The only matrix that I have is A. So I'm going to press enter and close my parenthesis, and I get a determinant that says -4. So my determinant is -4 for that matrix with those points in it. You notice the plus or minus in front here. So I have plus or minus 1/2 times -4. Now if I'm finding the area of a triangle, do I want a negative area or a positive area? Of course I want a positive area, so I'm going to multiply by the -1/2. This -1/2 times 4 gives me an area of 2. So my area of my triangle is 2. All right. And let's close this down for the next problem. So that's how you do the triangle area stuff. The next one we're going to do is we're going to add the matrices A and B. So when we add, we just add the element in the same position. So my A plus B matrix would be equal to 1 plus 1 is 2, -1 plus 3 is 2. 1 plus -3 would be -2, and 1 plus 1 is 2. For question number 5, we're going to take the scalar multiplication 3 times b. That means we're going to multiply every element in here by 3. So 3b would be equal to 3, 9, -9, 3. Just multiplying all the elements in there by 3. For number 6, we're multiplying matrices. This was the common mistake on the last quiz. So let's work through that. We're going to take, if we're going to look for the element 1, 1, row 1, column 1, we need to take row 1 times column 1. So I'm going to take 1 times 1, this element times this element, plus -1 or -1 times -3. And then to get this element, row 1, column 2, we have to take row 1 times column 2. So I get 1 times 1 plus -1 times 3. Down here, to get row 2, column 1, I need to take row 2 times column 1. So I get 1 times 1 plus 1 times -3. And then 2, 2 would be row 2 times column 2. I get 1 times 3 plus 1 times 1. Now, we need to simplify these. We can't just leave it like this. So my real answer would be 1 plus 3 is 4. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. And 3 plus 1 is 4. Number 7, we're going to take the negative of a, which is the negative 1, positive 1, negative 1, negative 1, and then we're going to add it to 2 times this. So when I do that, I'm going to get negative 1 plus 2 is 1. 1 plus 6 is 7. Negative 1 minus 6 is negative 7. And negative 1 plus 2 is 1. Now the inverse. We're going to need our calculator to find an inverse. We didn't talk much about finding inverses because we're going to be able to use our calculator to do it. All right, let's go in here to matrix. And we're going to edit. And we're going to change it to a 2 by 2 because that's what our matrices that they give us is. And we're going to put the values 1, negative 1, 1, 1 in there. So we have our matrix A right in there. So now we're going to, second quits, second matrix, we're going to do some on A. So there's our A. Our inverse, we all know that x to the negative 1 is the inverse. Like if I was going to say what is the inverse of sine, we'd say the inverse sine, and we use that negative 1 symbol as the inverse. So if I press A to the negative 1, that's my inverse. Press enter, and there's your answer. Now, what would we write for an answer? Typically, we go with fractions, but I'm not going to be very picky. So 0.5 is a half, 0.5 is a half, negative 1/2, and 1/2. So there's your inverse. All we have to do is type it into our calculator and use this inverse key to get it. All right. And we're going to close it down. And find the solution to the augmented matrix. If they give it to you like this, you see it's in reduced row echelon form. We know that the solution would be our x value is 8, our y value is 10, and our z value is 6. So all I'm asking here is, can you interpret this matrix to find an answer? In this one, we would have to plug it into our calculator again. So let's see if I can sneak this over right there. We're going to go into matrix, second matrix, and I'm going to edit, and I want to make it a 3 rows, 4 columns. So I'm going to go with a 3 by 4, and I'm going to put in negative 3, enter 1, enter 6, enter 15, enter 2, 2, negative 5, 9, 4, negative 5, 2, negative 3. All right, so now it's already in there. I'm going to quit, and I'm going to go back into matrix, and I'm going to do some math on a matrix. So I'm going to go down here to RREF, reduced row echelon form, and I'm going to do that on matrix A, the one that I just typed it into, and I get my answer. And my answer is going to be 8, 9, 5. You got to interpret this just like you did for question A. The X column, the Y column, the Z column, and the number column. All right. Yep. And I'll start another